A stranger took my parking spot and changed my life forever, but not in the way you'd expect. Lisa had been driving around the downtown parking garage for what felt like forever. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter with each passing minute as she watched the digital clock on her dashboard tick closer to 2:30 p.m. The job interview that could change her entire life was scheduled for 3 p.m., and she was still stuck looking for a place to park her car. This wasn't just any ordinary job interview. After being unemployed for 6 months, Lisa had finally landed an interview at one of the city's top marketing companies. She had spent weeks preparing, researching the company, practicing her answers, and choosing the perfect outfit. Everything had to go perfectly today, and yet here she was, trapped in what seemed like parking nightmare. The downtown area was busier than usual. Some big conference was happening at the convention center nearby, which meant every parking spot in a 5-block radius was taken. Lisa had already driven past 3 different parking lots, all displaying those frustrating full signs that made her heart sink a little more each time. She turned onto the second level of the parking garage, driving slowly as her eyes scanned, left and right. Cars were packed in tight, and she could see other drivers doing exactly what she was doing, circling around like sharks looking for any available space. A few cars ahead of her, she noticed another driver pull out of a spot near the elevators, but before she could even put on her turn signal, someone else had swooped in and claimed it. Lisa felt her stress levels rising. She could feel that familiar knot forming in her stomach, the same feeling she got whenever things weren't going according to plan. She had always been someone who liked to be prepared, to arrive early, to have everything organized. Being late was not in her nature, and certainly not for something this important. As she rounded another corner, Lisa spotted something that made her heart jump with relief. There it was, a perfect parking spot right near the elevator, just sitting there empty like it was waiting specifically for her. It was like finding a $20 bill on the sidewalk or getting the last slice of pizza at a party. She couldn't believe her luck. Lisa quickly put on her right turn signal, the familiar clicking sound filling her car as she began to position herself to back into the space. She had learned long ago that backing into parking spots was always the smarter choice. It made leaving so much easier, especially in crowded areas like this. She checked her mirrors, looked over her shoulder, and began the careful process of backing up. That's when everything went wrong. Out of nowhere, a small, red car came speeding around the corner from the opposite direction. Lisa watched in complete shock as the car zipped past her and slid directly into the parking spot she was actively trying to claim. The red car fit perfectly into the space, as if the whole thing had been planned. Lisa sat there in her car, engine still running, turn signal still clicking, completely frozen by what had just happened. She stared at the red car in disbelief, trying to process what she had just witnessed. Had that really just occurred? Had someone really just taken her parking spot while she was literally in the middle of parking in it? Her first emotion was confusion. Maybe there had been some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe the other driver hadn't seen her turn signal. Maybe they hadn't noticed that she was backing into the spot. But as she replayed the scene in her mind, she realized that couldn't be true. Her turn signal had been on. She had been positioned to back in, and there was no way the other driver could have missed what was happening. The confusion quickly turned into anger. This wasn't just about a parking spot anymore. This was about basic respect and common courtesy. There were unwritten rules about these things, rules that most decent people followed. When someone has their turn signal on and is actively parking, you wait. You don't cut in front of them and steal their spot. It was parking etiquette 101. Lisa looked at the clock again. It was now 2:35 p.m. She had 25 minutes to find another parking spot, walk to the office building, find the right floor, check in with the receptionist, and compose herself before the interview began. The stress that had been building all morning suddenly felt overwhelming. She thought about all the preparation she had done for this interview, the hours spent researching the company's history, their recent projects, their company culture, the money she had spent getting her interview outfit dry cleaned, the sleepless night she had endured, going over potential questions and answers in her head. All of that preparation could be wasted because some inconsiderate person had decided that their time was more important than basic human decency. But as Lisa sat there, watching the red car's driver gather their things inside the vehicle, she realized she had a choice to make. She could drive away, find another spot, and hope she could still make it to her interview on time. Or she could do something about this situation. She could stand up for herself and address what had just happened. The old Lisa might have just driven away, complaining to herself but not confronting the situation directly. But the past 6 months of unemployment had changed her. She had learned that sometimes you have to fight for what you deserve. Sometimes you have to speak up when something isn't right. Sometimes you have to be willing to have difficult conversations. Lisa turned off her engine, grabbed her purse, and stepped out of her car. Her heart was beating fast, but she felt determined. She was going to walk over to that red car and have a conversation with whoever was inside. She wasn't sure exactly what she was going to say, but she knew she couldn't just let this slide. Not today. Not when so much was at stake. Lisa walked across the parking garage with purpose, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. Each step felt heavy with determination, but also with nervousness. She had never been the type of person to confront strangers, especially not in situations like this. But something about today felt different. Maybe it was the importance of her job interview, or maybe it was just that she had reached her limit with people taking advantage of others. As she got closer to the red car, she could see the driver inside still gathering their belongings. The person appeared to be a woman about her own age with shoulder-length brown hair that was slightly messy, as if she had been rushing. Lisa could see her checking her phone and looking through her purse, completely unaware that someone was approaching her car with a bone to pick. Lisa took a deep breath and tried to calm her nerves. She had practiced difficult conversations before, especially during her job search when she had to follow up on applications and handle rejections. But this was different. This was personal. This was about standing up for herself in a way that felt both scary and necessary. She walked up to the driver's side window and gave it a gentle tap with her knuckles. Not too hard, not aggressive, but firm enough to get the woman's attention. Lisa had thought carefully about how to approach this. She didn't want to seem like some crazy person having a meltdown in a parking garage, but she also couldn't just let this slide. The woman inside the car looked up, startled at first. She had clearly been lost in whatever she was doing and hadn't expected someone to knock on her window. Lisa watched as the woman's expression changed from surprise to curiosity. After a moment, the window rolled down slowly. What happened next was not at all what Lisa had expected. Instead of the defensive, guilty, or angry response that Lisa had prepared herself for, she was met with the brightest, most genuine smile she had seen in months. It was the kind of smile that immediately disarmed you, the kind that made you forget what you were upset about for just a moment. "Oh my goodness, hi there," the woman said, her voice cheerful and warm as if they were old friends running into each other at the grocery store. There was something about her tone that caught Lisa completely off guard. This wasn't the response of someone who knew they had done something wrong and was trying to cover it up. This was genuine friendliness. Lisa had rehearsed several different opening lines during her short walk across the parking garage. She had planned to be firm, but polite, to clearly explain what had happened and request that the woman move her car. But faced with this unexpected warmth, Lisa found herself momentarily speechless. The woman in the red car seemed to sense Lisa's hesitation. "I'm so sorry," she continued, still smiling but with a hint of concern creeping into her voice. "Is everything okay? You look a little stressed. Are you lost? Do you need directions somewhere?" Lisa blinked, trying to refocus on why she had come over here in the first place. This woman's kindness was throwing her completely off script. She had been prepared for a confrontation, for defensiveness, for excuses. She hadn't been prepared for someone who seemed genuinely concerned about her well-being. "Actually," Lisa started, finding her voice again, "I wanted to talk to you about the parking spot." She gestured toward the space where the red car was now parked. "I was backing into this spot when you pulled in from the other direction. Had my turn signal on and everything." The woman's expression shifted slightly. The bright smile remained, but Lisa could see recognition dawning in her eyes. "Oh no," she said, and for the first time since the window had rolled down, she looked genuinely apologetic. "I was in such a rush I honestly didn't notice. I'm so sorry about that." But then instead of offering to move her car, the woman did something that surprised Lisa even more. She opened her car door and stepped out, extending her hand as if they were meeting at a business networking event. "I'm Rachel," she said, still maintaining that warm demeanor despite the awkward circumstances. "And I owe you a huge apology, but I also have to ask you for what might seem like a really strange favor." Lisa found herself automatically shaking, Rachel's hand still trying to process what was happening. This whole interaction was going in a direction she never could have predicted. Rachel was dressed in what looked like medical scrubs under a light cardigan, and Lisa noticed she had a hospital ID badge clipped to her shirt pocket. "I know this probably seems really forward," Rachel continued, "and I know you have every right to be upset with me about the parking spot. You're absolutely right, you were there first and I should have waited, but I'm hoping we can work something out." Lisa looked at her watch. It was now 2:40 p.m. She had 20 minutes before her interview, and she still needed to find another parking spot. But something about Rachel's tone made her curious despite her growing time pressure. "Work something out how?" Lisa asked, trying to keep the frustration out of her voice. Rachel's smile became more serious, more earnest. "I'm a nurse at the children's hospital," she explained, pointing in the direction of the large medical complex that was visible from where they stood. "And I'm running late for something really important. Like, really, really important." Lisa felt her carefully constructed anger beginning to waver slightly. She could see the stress in Rachel's eyes now, the same kind of pressure and urgency that she herself had been feeling about her job interview. But this felt different somehow, more desperate. "What kind of important?" Lisa found herself asking, even though part of her brain was screaming that she didn't have time for this conversation. Rachel looked directly into Lisa's eyes, and Lisa could see something there that made her heart skip a beat. It wasn't just stress or urgency. It was the kind of look that someone gets when they're dealing with something that really matters, something bigger than themselves. "There's an emergency surgery that's about to start," Rachel said quietly, "and I'm supposed to be there." The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. Emergency surgery. Those two words changed everything about the situation she thought she understood. Suddenly, this wasn't just about parking etiquette or being late for appointments. This was about something much more serious, something that involved other people's lives. Lisa stared at Rachel, trying to process what she had just heard. She could see the genuine worry in the woman's eyes, the way she kept glancing toward the hospital building in the distance. This wasn't someone making excuses or trying to manipulate her way out of an awkward situation. This was someone who was genuinely scared about being late for something that really mattered. "Emergency surgery?" Lisa repeated, almost to herself. She felt her anger deflating like a balloon with a slow leak. All the righteous indignation she had built up during her walk across the parking garage was suddenly replaced with something else entirely. Concern for people she didn't even know. Rachel nodded, and Lisa could see her hands shaking slightly as she adjusted her cardigan. "I'm the lead surgical nurse for pediatric operations," she explained, her voice carrying a weight that Lisa had never heard before. "There's a little boy who needs immediate surgery, and the team is waiting for me to get there so we can start." The mention of a child made Lisa's heart clench. She thought about her own nephew, about how helpless she had felt when he had been in the hospital with pneumonia last year. She remembered sitting in those uncomfortable waiting room chairs, watching the clock and praying that the doctors and nurses would be able to help him. "How little?" Lisa asked, the question coming out before she could stop herself. 7 years old, Rachel answered softly. "He was in a car accident earlier today. Nothing life-threatening, thankfully, but he needs surgery to repair a broken bone in his arm. The break is complicated, and if we don't operate soon, it could affect his ability to use his arm properly for the rest of his life." Lisa felt her stomach drop. A 7-year-old boy, the same age as her nephew had been when he was sick. She could picture this child lying in a hospital bed, probably scared and confused, while his parents worried and waited. And here she was, potentially preventing the nurse who could help him from getting to where she needed to be. But then another part of her brain kicked in, the practical part that reminded her of her own situation. She looked at her watch again. 2:42 p.m. 18 minutes until the most important job interview of her life. 18 minutes to find parking, get to the building, and compose herself enough to make a good impression. I understand that this is important, Lisa said carefully, and I'm really sorry about the little boy, but I also have something really important today. I have a job interview in less than 20 minutes and I've been unemployed for 6 months. This job could change my entire life. Rachel's expression softened with understanding. Oh no, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. That's huge. I know how tough the job market has been lately. She paused, seeming to wrestle with something internally. Look, I know I have absolutely no right to ask this, especially after taking your parking spot. But is there any way we could work out some kind of arrangement? Lisa raised an eyebrow. What kind of arrangement? I could pay for your parking today wherever you end up having to park, Rachel offered quickly. And I could give you my phone number so I can make this up to you properly later. Maybe I could buy you dinner or help you with something or... She trailed off, clearly grasping for solutions to an impossible situation. Lisa felt torn. On one hand, Rachel seemed genuine, and the situation with the child's surgery was clearly serious. On the other hand, Lisa had worked so hard to get this interview opportunity. She had sent out dozens of applications, had been rejected more times than she could count, and had finally gotten a chance with a company she actually wanted to work for. I don't know, Lisa said honestly. I really need to get to this interview. It's with Peterson Marketing Group and they're only interviewing 5 people for this position. If I'm late, they might just move on to the next candidate. Rachel's eyes lit up with recognition. Peterson Marketing? Oh wow, they're supposed to be amazing to work for. My sister-in-law works there. She's always talking about how great the company culture is. She paused. Look, I know this is going to sound crazy, but what if I called them for you? Lisa stared at her. What? I could call and explain that you're going to be a few minutes late because you stopped to help with a medical emergency, Rachel said, speaking faster now as the idea formed. It's technically true, and most people understand when someone is delayed because they were helping in a medical situation. The offer caught Lisa completely off guard. Here was this woman who had taken her parking spot, and now she was offering to call Lisa's potential employer to help smooth over the situation. It was such an unexpected gesture of kindness that Lisa didn't know how to respond. You would really do that? Lisa asked. Of course, Rachel said immediately. It's the least I can do. And honestly, if you were my sister or my friend, I would want someone to make that call for you. She pulled her phone out of her pocket. Do you have their number? Lisa found herself reaching for her own phone, scrolling through her contacts to find the Peterson marketing number she had saved weeks ago. But as she looked at the number, doubts started creeping in. What if they think it's weird that someone else is calling for me? Lisa asked. What if they decide I'm unprofessional or that I can't handle my own problems? Rachel considered this. You know what? You're right. That could backfire. She looked thoughtful for a moment. What if you called them yourself but from here? You could tell them you're running a few minutes late because you stopped to help with a medical emergency. You don't have to go into details, just that you couldn't walk away from someone who needed help. The suggestion made sense, but Lisa could feel the minutes ticking by. Every moment she spent in this parking garage was another moment closer to potentially missing her interview entirely. How long do you think it will take me to find another parking spot? Lisa asked, looking around at the crowded garage. Rachel followed her gaze, scanning the area. Honestly, in this area, at this time of day with the conference going on, it could be 15 or 20 minutes, maybe more. Lisa's heart sank. Even if she left right now, she might not make it to the interview on time. And if she did make it, she would probably arrive flustered and stressed, which was not the first impression she wanted to make. She looked at Rachel, who was watching her with an expression of genuine concern and guilt. This whole situation was so surreal. An hour ago, Lisa had never seen this woman before in her life. Now she was standing in a parking garage, having one of the most important conversations of her year with a complete stranger. "The little boy," Lisa said quietly. "How long can the surgery wait?" Rachel's face grew serious again. "Not long. Every minute we delay increases the risk of complications. And the longer we wait, the more scared he gets. He's already been through so much today." Lisa closed her eyes for a moment, trying to think clearly despite the chaos in her head. When she opened them again, Rachel was still looking at her with that same earnest expression, waiting to see what she would decide. Lisa stood there in the parking garage, feeling like the weight of the world was on her shoulders. Two important situations were happening at the same time, and somehow she had become the person who had to make a choice that would affect both outcomes. It wasn't fair. She hadn't asked to be put in this position, but here she was anyway. She looked at Rachel, who was clearly trying to stay calm, but was obviously getting more anxious by the minute. Lisa could see the way Rachel kept checking her phone, the way her foot was tapping nervously against the concrete floor, the way she kept glancing toward the hospital building in the distance. This woman was genuinely worried about being late for something that could affect a child's life. But Lisa was worried too. This job interview represented everything she had been working toward for the past 6 months. It was her chance to get back on her feet, to stop relying on her savings account, to feel productive and useful again. She had been living on unemployment, benefits, and the occasional freelance project, watching her bank account get smaller every month while she sent out application after application with little response. "I need to think about this for a second," Lisa said, more to herself than to Rachel. Rachel nodded quickly. "Of course, I totally understand. Take your time." But even as she said it, Lisa could see the urgency in her eyes. Time was exactly what neither of them had. Lisa walked a few steps away, trying to clear her head. She pulled out her phone and looked at the time again. 2:45 p.m. 15 minutes until her interview. Even if she left right now and found a parking spot immediately, she would be cutting it very close. And the chances of finding a spot immediately were basically zero. She thought about calling Peterson Marketing to let them know she might be running late. But what would she say? That she was having a disagreement with someone over a parking spot? That sounded petty and unprofessional. That she was helping with a medical emergency? That sounded made up, like the kind of excuse people use when they're just bad at time management. Lisa had always prided herself on being reliable, on being the kind of person who showed up when she said she would. Her friends and family knew they could count on her to be on time, to keep her commitments, to follow through on her promises. Being late to this interview felt like betraying a fundamental part of who she was. But as she stood there thinking about that 7-year-old boy waiting for surgery, she felt something else competing with her sense of responsibility to herself. It was empathy, pure and simple. She imagined how scared the child must be, lying in a hospital bed in an unfamiliar place, probably in pain, definitely confused about what was happening to him. She thought about his parents too. They were probably beside themselves with worry, trying to stay strong for their son while internally falling apart. Lisa remembered how her own parents had looked when her nephew was sick, that particular kind of helplessness that comes from watching someone you love suffer and not being able to fix it yourself. And then there was Rachel, who had clearly dedicated her career to helping children in exactly these kinds of situations. Lisa could see that this wasn't just a job for her, it was a calling. The way she talked about the little boy, the genuine worry in her voice, the way she was willing to ask a complete stranger for help rather than risk being late. This was someone who really cared about what she did. Lisa walked back over to where Rachel was standing. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Anything," Rachel replied immediately. "How often do you have emergency surgeries like this?" Rachel considered the question. "More often than I wish we did," she said honestly. "Kids get hurt, and when they do, they need help fast. That's just the reality of working in pediatric medicine. But this particular case..." She paused, seeming to wrestle with how much to share. "This little boy, he's been through a lot today. The car accident was scary enough, and now he's in a strange place with people he doesn't know, and he's in pain. Every minute we delay is another minute he has to be scared and confused. Lisa felt her resolve weakening. She had been trying to stay focused on her own situation, but hearing more details about the child made it harder to think only about herself. "What happens if you're late?" Lisa asked. "They can't start without me," Rachel explained. "I mean, they could find someone else to fill in, but it would take time to brief them on the case and it would delay everything even more. Plus, this little boy has already met me. I was there when he first came in and he seemed to trust me. Sometimes having a familiar face can make all the difference for a scared child." The image of a frightened 7-year-old looking for someone he recognized hit Lisa right in the heart. She thought about her nephew again, about how much it had meant to him to have familiar faces around when he was sick. Her family had taken shifts staying with him so he would never wake up alone in that hospital room. Lisa looked at her phone one more time. 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes. "If I give you this parking spot," she said slowly, "and I'm late for my interview, there's a good chance I won't get the job." Rachel's face fell. "I know," she said quietly, "and I hate that I'm even asking. It's not fair to you at all. But if I don't give you this spot," Lisa continued, "and you're late for the surgery, that little boy has to wait longer to get the help he needs." "Yes," Rachel said simply. Lisa stood there, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. This was one of those moments that she knew she would remember for the rest of her life, regardless of what she chose. It was the kind of crossroads where you find out who you really are when everything is on the line. She thought about the person she wanted to be, not just today, but always. Did she want to be someone who put her own needs first, no matter what? Or did she want to be someone who was willing to sacrifice for others when it really mattered? The answer, when it came to her, was surprisingly clear. Lisa took a deep breath and looked directly into Rachel's eyes. "Take the parking spot," she said, the words coming out more firmly than she had expected. "Go help that little boy." Rachel's face lit up with a mixture of relief, gratitude, and disbelief. "Are you serious? Are you absolutely sure?" "I'm sure," Lisa said, and as she spoke the words, she realized she really meant them. "That child needs you more than I need this parking spot. I'll figure something else out." For a moment, Rachel just stared at her, as if she couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. Then, without warning, she stepped forward and wrapped Lisa in a quick but heartfelt hug. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea what this means, not just to me, but to that little boy and his family." Lisa found herself hugging back, surprised by how right this decision felt despite everything it might cost her. "Just promise me you'll let me know how the surgery goes," she said as they separated. "Absolutely," Rachel said, already pulling out her phone. "Give me your number and I'll text you as soon as we're done." She handed her phone to Lisa, who quickly typed in her contact information. "And hey," Rachel added, as Lisa handed the phone back, "what's the name of the company you're interviewing with again? Peterson Marketing?" Lisa nodded, wondering why Rachel was asking. "My sister-in-law works there. Her name is Jenny Chen. She's in the creative department. If this interview doesn't work out for any reason, I could put in a good word for you. I know it's not the same as getting the job today, but maybe it could help in the future." The offer surprised Lisa. Here was this woman who was clearly in a rush to get to an emergency surgery, taking time to think about how she could help Lisa even after Lisa had already helped her. It was the kind of kindness that restored your faith in humanity. "Thank you," Lisa said. "That's really thoughtful of you." Rachel was already heading back toward her car, but she paused and turned around. "What's your name? I realize we never actually introduced ourselves properly." "Lisa," she replied. "Lisa Rodriguez." "Lisa Rodriguez," Rachel repeated as if she was committing it to memory. "I'm never going to forget what you did today. Never." With that, Rachel got into her car and started the engine. Lisa watched as the red car pulled out of the parking spot and headed toward the exit ramp that would take Rachel to the hospital. As the car disappeared around the corner, Lisa felt a strange mix of emotions, nervousness about her own situation, but also a warm feeling of satisfaction that she had done the right thing. Now she was back to square one, standing in an empty parking spot with 12 minutes until her interview. Lisa got back into her car and started driving again, heading up to the third level of the garage to continue her search for an available space. As she drove, she thought about what she would tell the interviewer if she was late. The truth seemed like the best option, that she had stopped to help someone with a medical emergency. It was honest, and it showed something about her character that might actually work in her favor. Lisa found a parking spot on the fourth level, much farther from the elevator than she would have liked. By the time she parked and gathered her things, it was 2:56 p.m. She had 4 minutes to get to the Peterson marketing office. She half ran through the parking garage, her heels clicking rapidly against the concrete as she made her way to the elevator. The elevator seemed to take forever to arrive, and then it stopped at every single floor on the way down. Lisa watched the numbers tick by, trying to stay calm and prepare herself mentally for the interview. She made it to the Peterson marketing office at exactly 3:03 p.m., 3 minutes late. Lisa approached the receptionist's desk, slightly out of breath but trying to maintain her composure. "Hi, I'm Lisa Rodriguez," she said. "I have a 3:00 p.m. interview, and I'm so sorry I'm a few minutes late. I stopped to help someone with a medical emergency." The receptionist, a friendly woman in her 30s, smiled warmly. "Oh, don't worry about it at all. These things happen. Mr. Peterson is actually running a few minutes behind schedule anyway, so the timing worked out perfectly. Can I get you some water while you wait?" Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her. Maybe everything was going to work out after all. The interview went better than Lisa had expected. When Mr. Peterson asked why she had been slightly late, she explained honestly about helping someone get to an emergency surgery at the children's hospital. Rather than seeming annoyed, he appeared impressed by her willingness to help a stranger in need. "That says a lot about your character," he had said. "We value employees who care about their community and are willing to go out of their way to help others." 3 hours later, as Lisa was driving home, her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. She waited until she was stopped at a red light to check it. "Hi Lisa, this is Rachel from the parking garage. The surgery went perfectly. The little boy is doing great and should make a full recovery. His parents wanted me to thank the woman who helped me get there on time. They don't know your name, but they said to tell you that you're an angel. I hope your interview went well. You deserve amazing things. Rachel." Lisa smiled as she read the message, feeling that warm satisfaction again. She quickly typed back, "So glad to hear the surgery went well. Interview went great too. Thank you for the update." A few minutes later, another text came through. "By the way, I talked to my sister-in-law, Jenny. She said if you get the job, she'd love to take you to lunch and show you around. And if you don't get it, she wants to keep your resume on file for future openings. Seems like a win-win to me." Lisa laughed out loud in her car. Here she had thought that giving up that parking spot might cost her everything, but instead it had led to new connections and possibilities she never could have imagined. 2 weeks later, Lisa got a call from Peterson Marketing offering her the position. And 6 months after that, she and Rachel had become genuine friends, meeting for coffee every few weeks to catch up on life. Sometimes, Lisa reflected, the best things happen when you're willing to put someone else's needs before your own. That parking spot had seemed so important in the moment, but what really mattered was the choice to be kind when it counted most.